Yeah, we did the got an extra.
Hour. So it's like I felt like like I should for another 8 hours. Like I'm supposed to be wide awake. Yes, it was terrible. It was like harder waking up. Like what happened?
Did you allergic to nuts? Okay, welcome everyone. We are just a few minutes late. Sorry about that. It is November 3rd, 2025, getting close to the holidays now. Wow. It is our 9 a.m. strategic planning meeting. Let the record reflect that all 5 commissioners are present. And we are going to we'll get started with Under Sheriff Mike Halstead. Good morning.
Morning. Thanks everybody. Early Monday morning here. We're great topic, talking about RMS. We kind of briefed you quickly about it on our capital list about one of the big projects that we're having to deal with. So essentially where we're at right now is we have the CAD system, which our computer dispatch is going to be run. It's currently run by the county. We have a program called New World that runs both our dispatch CAD system as well as our records management system. So CAD is basically from the minute someone calls 911 or crime check, they create a call, it goes to dispatch or to crime check for a report to be written. And a police officer goes out, it covers everything through when they clear the call. Once the call is cleared, then it's the officers, the deputies use the RMS system to write the reports. It's also where we do dissemination of the prosecutors, discovery events, public disclosure, the court system. Everything we do, as well as case management, is in the RMS system. So there's 2 halves to how we go on calls and how we handle calls. The CAD system right now is being handled by Shrek, the replacement system. They are going with a system called Hexagon. Our RMS system is a little more complicated. This kind of explains some of the back history and how we ended up. So currently, as of today, we use a system called New World. That was purchased 2016, implemented in 2018-ish. And currently, like on the board there, it was pretty much all local law enforcement in the county use both CAD and RMS on the system. And that's also what Shrek uses. Next slide, Ron. When the new RMS system, though, the city of Spokane and the airport, we presume, because they haven't replied, are going with a different system. Next slide, Ron. So this is some of the background, and we can get these to everybody as well. So county IT currently supports Tyler New World, our current system. Shrek will handle CAD. We're going to go live with CAD this spring. The issue came up when we were moving towards the new CAD RMS systems. It was determined by the local law enforcement agencies that we would try to exploit Axon to do our RMS records management system. It was already included in our Axon contract, so we thought this would be good. And pretty much all the other agencies in the county also were using Axon RMS or Axon for their body cams and potential evidence. So we thought this would work. Axon entered into this. We worked on this project with the city. The city was the lead for almost 2 years. Late December of last year, they notified all the partners that they could not deliver the multi-jurisdictional RMS system, which we had been working on for almost 2 years. So you can imagine some of our consternation is now we literally CAD is moving along. We thought RMS was moving along at the same speed, and RMS came to an abrupt stop. And so we had to find another solution. So all the subject matter experts, and I happen to be talking a lot about this because I'm the head of our core team. Our core team is basically the group of subject matter experts. I'm the admin rep. I'm certainly not a CAD or RMS expert, but we have a lot of the IT folks, end users, our trainers, records clerks, everybody is in this group. And we got together to come up with what's our solution now because we can't use Axon. So we had Hexagon come in as well as Axon and give us presentations February of last year. Hexagon happens to be the CAD system. So just like we have Tyler New World, which handles both systems right now, it organically makes sense to have the next system also be tied together. It reduces the number of interfaces and potential issues you have with 2 disparate systems trying to talk to each other. So we listened to presentations on both. Next slide there. after a very lengthy discussions and presentations, it was clear that Hexagon was by far and away the better system for our needs. Multi-jurisdictional means that all of our systems can talk. So when you have someone that is Cheney and is arrested for something, we can see what that is in Spokane County and vice versa. And because a lot of times our crooks don't care about jurisdictional lines and they go all over the place, as well as victims. So we have some victim patterns. So especially domestic violence, different things like this, we can see what the whole record is instead of having to look at all these different pots, which we might have access to. So after a prolonged discussion, and everybody in the room decided that Hexagon was by far the solution. Next slide, Ron. So as we're doing this, RMS, the CAD system was decided on, and Hexagon is been very good with us. They're offering kind of a current customer discount if we were able to secure a contract with them. And just last week, I was officially noticed because I asked them that the city and the airport are not going to go on Hexagon with us. So it's pretty much everybody else in the county except the City of Spokane Police Department and the International Airport. I think SIA uses Spokane police records for their records functions as well. So do we. So where we're at now is in looming implementation date of CAD is coming up this spring, and we have the old RMS system. So we're trying to work on interfaces and whatnot to get everybody so we can write reports come this spring when the new CAD goes live, and while we're building out the new RMS system. So next slide, Ron. Actually, go to the next one. So this is just a quick snapshot on why Hexagon. Our current CAD environment is going to be native to the RMS system. It's a lot of our NIBRs, which is how we report crime stats to the FBI. That's where national crime reports come from, is through NIBRs compliance. The way we write our reports is incredibly important in that process in order to have, we aim for 0% error. We have a really good reputation for that because our current system is conjoined. Also, some of the highlights, the Shrek team out there, they have the, I guess, the infrastructure to handle the new RMS system. They didn't overbuild, but they built for expansion when they did the CAD system. And so we can put that out there. Some of us, sometimes we talk in Spokane, like we're kind of special. We like to do a lot of multi-jurisdictional stuff and it makes things complicated. When we brought that up to them, like, can you handle us? 2 examples right off the get-go where El Paso has 39 agencies and 15 PSAPs. And DuPage County has 62 agencies and 18 PSAPs. We're talking about 7 agencies and 1 PSAP. So our project is fairly basic compared to some really complicated things they've done in the past. So, which obviously gives us good confidence that they'll be able to handle this no problem. So next slide, Ron. So this is the RMS cost initially, and we kind of talked about this before. So essentially the initial purchase with the discount and adding tax on is just below $3 million. That's the off-the-shelf purchase for software. And then the yearly, this is $254,000. So I think it's about $178,000 a year. So what we've discussed, and Scott, Tessa, feel free to jump in here, is having the county, just like we do currently with Tyler New World, is have the county take care of billing out to the other agencies through ILAs, updating the current ILAs that we already have with them. And this would allow us to Shrek hosted. However, all costs regarding RMS would be absorbed by the police agencies. Currently, Shrek doesn't pay for RMS because they don't use it. The only way they really use it is a crime check to write reports for us. So they don't need records management or anything. They write the report, they send it to us, it goes in our records bin, or Airway Heights records bin, or Cheney's records bin, whoever, and they're kind of done with it, right? Because we're the ones who use that information or sign it for investigation. So, next slide, please. So today, I guess what it comes down to is the $2.9 million one-time purchase for RMS. And then the $278,000 a year coverage. Now, those would all be split up based on case counts. That's how we currently cost allocate on RMS. Is we have a rolling 5-year average of how many reports each agency in the cooperative, how many they have. And so Tessa gets that from our staff. It's the next slide there on. This kind of breaks out what the cost would be for all the partner agencies based on the number of case reports. So the first column there is the second column, excuse me, is the percentage of case reports total. Spokane Valley having the largest and Eastern having the smallest. The third column there is what the cost share of the one-time purchase, the 2.9 million would be. Then the last one is what the ongoing yearly maintenance estimates would be. On ongoing yearly maintenance, the one thing we would need to asterisk on that is right now Shrek, because they're moving to a new facility, they are setting up all kinds of infrastructure as well as the CAD system. They don't have the ability to do IT work on the RMS building. It's going to take 12 to 18 months to build the system. And so county IT is going to be asked to handle that, talk with them. They're on board with it. The idea being that they will help with the build out. And once it's up and running and going smoothly, is potentially moving that to Shrek IT for the ongoing maintenance once the system's already built and up and running. So there could be some additional costs sharing out to the locals, the other jurisdictions for IT's costs for this project, at least through probably 2027. So next slide, please. So this is the general implementation plan we're talking about. Just to boil this whole thing down, is looking for the board to approve the purchase and updating the ILAs for the ongoing costs as well. Have Shrek purchase Hexagon RMS in Bill Spokane County. Spokane County IT would take the lead along with all of our current subject matter experts, which we're already working on the other project. We're already ahead of the ball on that one, ready to go. I don't think it's going to be 12 to 18 months, 18 months. I think it's going to be closer to 12 because all the work that's already been done. We are talking about using National Public Safety Group to help with the PM on this because they're currently project management for the CAD implementation. So they know Hexagon, they know the CAD system and where we're at. So it makes perfect sense to have their team handle the RMS implementation because a lot of that goes side by side. And so we could fold that into some of these costs. Ultimately, we're looking for a go live for the new RMS system the first quarter of 2027. It'd be great if we could, if things are going swimmingly well and we can get it done in 2026, that'd be even better. The sooner we can move off of Tyler New World, the better. But that's the worst case plan right now is Q1. And then after the system is established and operational, the long-term goal would be to transfer the IT maintenance of it from county IT to Shrek IT. And then billing could be adjusted from there. We will need to maintain our current system. It's in some form or fashion all through the end of 2026 as all this built up. There is a ramping up of costs as we build out. It's not all due up at the front end. It ramps through as you hit project milestones. You pay more payments. So the 2.9, I don't believe is due on day one. It is a ramp progression as we move through next year. So, that's the last one. So that is about 11 months of dozens and dozens of meetings and trying to get to this point. So I may have missed some things because it seems to be almost a daily conversation in my world, trying to find the solution. So it was really disappointing that, the other system didn't work for multiple reasons, but it didn't, and we're here, so. This.
Well, I think a couple things to point out. It wasn't for a lack of planning. The team, our law group, started planning on this in parallel with the known desire to move off the CAD system. It was not until Axon came back and said they couldn't do it that it caused a pivot. I believe, Mike, you can confirm that every law enforcement group said we need a different solution. That the Tyler New World is not working for us as we intended it to be. It was not delivering on what their commitment was. So every jurisdiction said we need to have another RMS system. One of the pieces here, the county is being the lead on this right now with other jurisdictions. It's the county owns the contract with Tyler New World. We, as Mike alluded to, we manage the billings out to the jurisdictions. We have interlocal agreements with every single jurisdiction. I would anticipate that this would also be a similar multi-jurisdiction interlocal agreement that the commissioners consider if this is approved to enter into. It's likely going to take some time. You don't pull interlocal agreements with 7 jurisdictions together in a short period of time. So one of the considerations for the board is there a willingness to, given the timing of the 10% discount is likely going to expire by the end of the year, is there a willingness to enter into a contract with Hexagon in advance and then work towards the interlocal agreements with the jurisdictions? I've talked to at least one jurisdiction who has asked whether or not there would be a willingness for the county to have multi-year payments for their capital. Each of the dollars, while they're different levels, the county and the valley are going to cover the largest percentage of the cost for capital. The smaller jurisdictions, their amount is still pretty significant as it is. So they've asked if there is a willingness to have a multi-year, maybe up to 3-year repayment through them. So that's a question is back to the commissioners as well as would the interlocal agreement consider a multi-year payment for the other jurisdictions. So I think if there's anything else to highlight here. They did indicate an up to 18 months, but as Mike said, they likely because they have a lot of it built already and they're familiar with our agencies here. It could accelerate. It could be as short as 12 months. But I think the other important piece is, Mike, that the entering of data into CAD, because we're on the same system, automatically populates information into RMS. That eliminates the need for officers and deputies to enter in the same data in another location. So we'll have to, and we've talked with Hexagon about building an interface between Hexagon that receive information from Tyler. So it eliminates, once CAD is live in Hexagon, it eliminates the entry, the manual entry by the officers and the deputies into the system. So that's one little piece that we're still working on as well.
So the billings that we do now is based on a current maintenance rate for Tyler.
Yes, it was all prescribed in the contract.
How much is that?
I think
The total New World maintenance fees, so that's the software maintenance, Tyler and also county IT is $654,000 a year. That is what is billed out to
Just
Everybody.
the collective, that is
Yeah.
CAD and RMS.
Okay.
I believe our contracts, our interlocal agreements indicate that CAD is about 50%. So Struct pays the CAD piece and the remaining piece that's related to RMS is billed out to all the participating jurisdictions. So it's the differential of it. And we also, because the county owns the contract, maintains a system through our IT costs our captured and then also billed out as part of the maintenance cost to the other jurisdictions. So that would be the similar thing going forward until such a point that in time that Shrek is able to get their IT team get trained up on the system and in the future would step into the role of maintaining the system.
So is there? What would be the ongoing maintenance cost of the new system then,
That's
back to the
the,
county?
that's the on slide page 13. It's about 278,000 with tax is the total maintenance cost, and the counties would be about 100,000. I believe that's slightly less than paying today as part of the three. Yeah, maybe it's, yeah, you could say it's similar.
And I believe some of that 102,000 would be cost shared back to our small contracts. Through ILA.
Yes,
Yeah.
this includes the sheriff representing some of our very small jurisdictions, as well as Deer Park, Medical Lake, Millwood, ones where the sheriff's office is truly the law enforcement agency.
It certainly would be, we would save on the initial one time and cost sharing if the city had joined like currently. That is a reality. They're going to do something else, just like with Shrek. So that is going to be kind of the asterisk on this whole thing.
And that's going to, Mike, reduce the interoperability of systems talking to each other because they will be on a different system as the rest of the jurisdictions.
Yeah, I foresee, I think, we all agree the importance of data sharing, and having the data sharing agreements. Having the contract language is easy, data sharing and how you use that data. The other thing is more interfaces and paying for those interfaces and those kind of things, which when they figure out which CAD system and which RMS system they're going with, they'll be able to cross that bridge. But there's too many unknowns on that side. So we don't know what they'll. We're hoping that works out.
So can you explain exactly what the records management system does? Because I think sometimes it's confusing as to what CAD is versus what RMS is. And then how those, I guess the other question is we're looking at with public defense and public prosecutors, software that they're using and how does that transfer to them? And just, I think there's just some, I'm still confused on how this really all works.
Yeah, this whole project has been kind of building the plane in the air, so to speak, because we were behind the eight ball. We had other plans. And so essentially RMS is once the officer, deputy, and even detectives in the office, once it's time to write a police report, that's where RMS starts its process. That's where it begins. That's where we write all our police reports. That's where we upload protection orders. That's where we do case management. All our digital evidence, so all the photographs, body cam, video that's submitted from the public that we request or they submit otherwise, is all in Axon. Okay, so Axon does have a little bit of RMS functionality in it, but our RMS systems really are about report management. And then once that report is submitted, it goes out and it's distributed. So if I take an assault investigation and I write my report, my supervisor, it goes through that system, the supervisor approves it, and then it goes into whichever bureau needs to investigate it. So if it's a felony assault, it would go into the Major Crimes Bureau. So that supervisor would read it and then he would push it to the detective to handle. The detective would write all his or her additional reports in that same system. And it's all continuing to, it's a big jar and everything's going in the same jar, right? And it's all based on the case number, which started back when someone called 911 or crime check to start the report. We can also start our own investigations on proactive units. If somebody just calls into the office, we can do that as well and start that in the RMS system. It does not directly connect with any of the prosecutor system or the public defender system for a reason. It's because there's law enforcement only data in there, such as criminal histories and different things that have to be released through discovery or through subpoena that we're required to hold on to. And so we will, through discovery process, if we arrest someone, part of the records division for the city that handles that work for us, they'll grab those reports out and push it to the prosecutor for us. Or sometimes it's automated. It'll basically turn it into a PDF and push it to the prosecutor, so they have it for first appearance, different things. And then they can also use that for discovery defense. So it really is how we do all of our work to document. All of our documentation is in the RMS. Public disclosure is a huge part, as you know. You're a huge consumer of public disclosure in the sheriff's office. We get a lot of them, and that's where they go to grab all those reports on the documentation. So
And then so who's handling the records management system? Did you just say the city?
So there's physical records, and then, yeah, no, that's fine. So the city handles some of the dissemination to other agencies for us. They handle protection orders, uploading documents, warrants, different things like that. The RMS system currently that we have today, New World, is maintained by county IT. So they handle the IT support for it to make sure it continues to function. And it takes a lot. This current system requires a lot of support, which is one of the reasons, one of the big reasons we're trying to get away from it. I think our FTEs would go down significantly when we are on this current system. So yeah, basically county IT just handles the software to make sure it works. That all the other end users and consumers of our information, typically that's what we're paying the Spokane Police Department Records Division to help us with that.
So I guess to follow up on Commissioner Keeney's question, will there be any ripple effects then when this gets implemented that touches these other, like the prosecutor or will there need to be updates or IT work to connect the dots?
Because they don't, none of those groups now have access to New World, and they wouldn't.
They just receive the records.
They basically just receive a PDF.
Okay.
Is a non-editable report. That's the cleanest way to do it. I mean, back in the day, we used to handwrite reports, and they photocopy them, and now everything's obviously electronic. But it's much simpler that way. And a lot of it is automated now, and it's going to be even further automated with Hexagon because it's a far better
There
system.
won't be any need. I mean, I'm assuming. So what about the court system and the courts?
So court, everything going to, we receive more from the courts than we actually send. The stuff that would go to the courts generally would just be first appearance documents, first appearance docs, like when you arrest someone, they'll get an initial probable cause affidavit through that system. It usually goes from the officer to the jail to them. Most of the court documents come from the prosecutors. Or in civil cases submitted by civil counsel.
So does it touch like the warrant system or any of those when there's warrants out?
No, the RMS generally the warrants will live in the physical warrants live in the city records unit, the actual physical warrant. The notification in someone's jacket is possible. Basically, they just let you know locally, hey, this person has a warrant. That paperwork doesn't really ever live in the system. It comes from the court, the physical warrant. They make a copy of it, they store it, and then they put a note in the person's file. Hey, this guy has. It also goes in the national warrant database when you run the news.
How does the price of this compare with the previous option you were looking?
Well, yeah, Axon. So there wasn't going to be a cost with Axon. They include in their bundle an RMS option that was part of the officer safety package. Kevin Ritchie's currently been working with them on that. Their RMS system is very basic. There's very few agencies that use it. It does not talk with any other agencies. It's a single jurisdiction. It's kind of like the way the digital evidence works now is you'd have to get a license for every person who wants to look into that instead of here, we can share data. There, it's completely agency specific. For instance, if we had stayed with Axon and individually, each agency stayed with Axon RMS, just our own. When Shrek Crime Check went to write a report, Crime Check operator would have to have up to 8 or even 9 different agency logins, one for each agency, depending on where the complaint was called. So if you happen to be in Cheney and you called in to report your vehicle being broken into, the Shrek operator would have to look at their list of logins and log into Cheney's system to write that report. And then no one else in our system, in our collaborative, would be able to look and see what was going on anywhere else. We could put together crime trends. We could catch offenders who are offending, say, a burglar, for instance, on a burglary spree through multiple jurisdictions. Currently, right now, we can see all that information. We can put that together. We would all essentially be completely different, which since I've worked here, it's been 30 years, we've always had multi-jurisdiction ability to look at that data. It would be significantly stepping backwards, basically siloing all of our information. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, maybe you know, Kevin Ritchie, Under Sheriff Ritchie, was working with the RMS, with Axon about the RMS question. Trying to make it right because it was part of the bundle and they were, so I don't know what rebate or kind of credit they were going to give us for it, but it wasn't significant, but they are aware that we were terribly happy with 2 years of invested time and it kind of fell through.
So that was cheaper, but didn't do as much. And if the city eventually goes with Hexagon for its CAD, I assume that would be a good thing for functionality of RMS.
I can tell you that
You said earlier, they have other projects with many jurisdictions, so I would assume that would be.
it would be probably good for data sharing. I have heard that hypothetically, they may be going with Hexagon CAD, but on their own contract. Separate than Shrek, which doesn't help us at all. So it'd be great, more people going in, obviously helps cost share. That's how we've done a lot of things around here all these decades, to share the cost of things, but I don't believe that's where they're.
From an operational or functional standpoint, is that a good thing?
It would
was
be,
to all be Hexagon, even if it's on different contracts.
if we have a bridge between the two, if there's interfaces, data agreements, which I think we would agree to, as long as there's, not significant costs or any costs. I think that's probably possible. Technically, I'm sure it is. Logistically, we haven't crossed it. It would be definitely something I'd be pushing for, to get out of the siloing of information and data, especially for CAD, because that's where we're sending officers, deputies, first responders, fire safety, fire and law are all going to be on the same CAD system for the first time ever with Hexagon. It'd be fantastic because we go to a lot of calls with our partners in the city and they, and vice versa, both for fire and law. So having that interoperability, asking. So hopefully if they go that way, we can get there. So.
Cities indicated, I believe, that they are going to go on a different RMS system. They're going to go to Axon as a single jurisdiction. That's what we've heard. And I think they're planning on doing that. We've heard in the May timeframe. So they're not going to be on the same records management system. They will be on a different one, which affects the data sharing and access to information. So they'll have to solve on how they're going to feed Hexagon CAD information into whatever they decide on into their RMS system in the future.
So if someone's doing a crime spree in city of Spokane and then moves into the county or vice versa, those two we won't be able to really.
As of next spring, whenever it's turned on and their reports are written in that system, we won't have any optic into that type of activity, which is again the first time that's ever occurred. So.
Criminals don't care.
And they exploit it. I mean, that's why we've had
Yeah, that's gonna be.
I think our multi-jurisdictional task force has been a good testament to, taking away that opportunity of that exploiting that. And we've seen those kind of not be like they used to be as well, which is unfortunate, so.
The other,
If that happens, there would need to be an interface, right, or some kind of software bridge between the two at some point. Who builds that? Is it Hexagon or Axon and Hexagon, or is it IT?
Typically,
Where does the work live for that?
typically those interfaces are written by the software vendors. And sometimes it's whoever's pushing the data, sometimes it's whoever's pulling the data. And so we end up being in the middle. We're currently in the middle on several of these interfaces of, we need this, and they don't, obviously, they're competitors, right? So we're kind of in the middle trying to get them to understand where we're at, what our needs are. And, typically there is a cost associated with them. I know Hexagon has told us that they have an interface to push Hexagon CAD data into Tyler New World RMS to get us through this 1 year. And now old Tyler might want to charge us, even though they didn't have to write the interface. So we're currently working through that. But Hexagon was like, no, it's free included. So, which is fantastic, because I think they've come in after Tyler on several jurisdictions and done exactly what we're going through, away from Tyler, bring in Hexagon. I think they're somewhat experienced with that transition.
one other,
Just a quick money question. If there is one, has the RMS always been something that's kind of been general funded by the jurisdictions over time? So it's not thought of as like a 1/10 or excise tax or user fee. It's kind of something that has been held by the county and paid for out of general fund jurisdictions.
When the original Tyler conjoined system was put in place, the 1/10 and the 911 excise were contemplated to pay for the 50% CAD portion related to dispatch, and that was long before Shrek was stood up and everything like that. So that's kind of how that half was funded. The RMS portion has, yes, always been funded by local general fund dollars, public safety sales tax, things like that that are, typically just in your general fund.
The other piece for the commission to be aware of, our county servers and hardware that the CAD RMS reside on today are getting close to end of life. It's been up for nearly 10 years. So our IT team has indicated that if we were to continue on the Tyler New World, we have up to about a $900,000 pending replacement that we would have to spend probably in the 2027. So this avoids having to spend that, and the fact that we've got that Shrek is indicated they'd be willing to host this. That is some avoided costs out in the future as well.
So if we were to have a crime spree of burglaries conducted by a single entity, and the spree had gone from the city to the valley, unincorporated, we will not have the interoperability, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, to be able to communicate between and share data through a common RMS system anymore.
As it sits, yeah, that'd be correct.
But
If they're
just between the city.
between the city, anything that
And-
occurred in the city or at the airport, we would not be able to just go into the system and look at that and be aware of it. We have a very robust Rig9, our real-time crime center that, can hopefully keep their ear to the ground and see those kind of things that might happen. It would be kind of backwards. Usually you're not using human capital to look for things that should be easily provided through data. By the tens of thousands of reports that come through just by the sheer volume. If there was some interface that could be developed between the two, That's a big if, and who would pay for it? That would obviously be ideal to get us as a Band-Aid. But I don't know if that exists currently. Nobody's mentioned that it does. It's one of the many things that we'd have to deal with. You know, if we get this solidified, that would be certainly one of the next things we have to deal with.
So you said something and I want to make sure I heard it right. The rig system that we have now is built on the RMS system that we have or that we're going to transition into. But if the city is on a different RMS system than the county is, then the rig won't operate as efficiently as it does now.
That's correct. I think there's some solutions that we might be able to do. If we couldn't get an interface, we could try to leverage the city to let us pay for licenses into that data. To be able to kind of look under the tent, so to speak, to at least see that data for the rig. But yeah, it definitely is, it's problematic for many reasons, you know, that we're trying to find innovative solutions to some of the trouble. Yes, so.
One thing that I'm starting to appreciate more and more is the ripple effect of this decision throughout the entire county.
Well, and I'm gonna assume that the city's gonna wanna look under the tent for the cases that they're, you know, following up on, but it's making it more complex. It's making it more expensive. But, so it is possible. So if the city wanted to join the CAD and wanted to jump on board this RMS system, they could still have their own PSAP. Is that correct? So that's, it's kind of two different decisions. Okay,
And the RMS,
it would probably save the city money to join this CAD system and join this RMS. Although Axon sounds like it's a budget program, but then when you have to connect it to these programs, it's probably gonna add some expense. I don't know, but I would imagine.
Question. Is it our understanding that this RMS has to be in place for Hexagon for the CAD go live in March, or okay, the different?
No. Yeah, no, it does not. The CAD program is full steam ahead. There's no indication. They pushed the go live was supposed to be December. They pushed it back to make sure it's right. And so it's pushed back to early March.
Yeah.
End of March, yeah. When we're starting to train, we're already scheduling the training for all our officers, deputies, and everybody. That's going forward regardless. Shrek's pushing forward. The benefit to this decision, like Scott mentioned, is they are willing to give us a 10% current customer discount, even though technically we're the customer. They understand we're all together. They're very aware of our situations at Shrek. So,
So, okay, so, oh, sorry. So if we take the software side, it's, obviously we need to do it and we've got to figure out how we move forward with that. How do we, I'm then concerned with the records management where it's housed. Because they're gonna be on a different system. We're gonna be on a different system. And is it time to have our own records management people and not, I mean, I'm just being honest. Here. Because it's like, because it's two different systems, so then we're training up city employees for our system, which doesn't make sense to me as a county commissioner. When everything else is now on a different system. And so and then we're. I would say have no mercy on all of that. So I mean, as these decisions are made, we have to look at all decisions.
I guess two parts to answer that. First one is, my understanding is that Chief Hall has indicated to the sheriff that you continue to provide records management or record services for us. Even if we go to this system, I believe.
But see, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I believe we pay a significant amount to the city for those services. I've heard,
Yeah, That's why.
I've heard,
That's why fire
I've heard about.
left Shrek.
The city has not been able to provide us a costing allocation or a justification of the costs that we have been charged for records management services. We can detail all that. So it's part of a larger sharing agreement. It's called the joint use agreement. And we share forensic services with the city. The city provides property evidence room services to the county as well as records. And then we each have the combined bomb units, forensics, yeah, is what we provide. So we kind of share both of those back and forth. And then we also have the leased space that the city uses in the public safety building for the police department. And so we kind of share these back and forth, and we can provide a full costing of forensics and stats and things like that. And we've not been able to receive something in response from the city.
Probably waiting until Shrek identifies what the cost is gonna be for them, and so it's a matter of chicken. Who's gonna flinch first?
But I don't think they've ever been able to.
That's been going on since I've been at the
Oh,
county.
I know, I just,
The last time we settled was
benefit of our
2014.
audience, so just giving an update.
We definitely, that was actually one of the first conversations I had with the sheriff was the records. Like, not records management, the records unit, I guess, and how that would work, having two disparate systems. And so it's definitely something we've had conversation about. It is a 24-hour a day operation. Because you have to be able to answer, when you put warrants in the national system, you have to be able to answer the phone 24 hours a day and within so many minutes, confirm a warrant. So an officer in the street that has someone stopped in Montana on, say, a murder warrant here, can't wait for someone to come from home and to physically check and make sure the warrant's good. Because, they're detaining someone. We can't hold them for hours on the side of the road waiting for a warrant to be confirmed. So you need to have I think it's 15-minute-ish response time. The other part is providing protection orders. So, protection order violation in the field, domestic violence related. You have to have someone that can pull that report, read all the details, the actual details, before you make the arrest, and tube that to the jail. So the officer has a warrant or the protection order at jail so they can physically serve it, which is a requirement by law. So it is a 24-hour operation. So
You have lots of other 24-hour.
we do. It's just it's something we've never done. So it would
Right.
definitely be completely new.
There's just so many things right now that have never been done before, but I think we just have to think through all of them.
So, if you're not getting data. Let me back up. Let's say the city comes back with a price for access to the data that we can't justify. So at that point, then communication between the sheriff's office and city police department pretty much comes to an end. In terms of joint efforts for either RMS or crime suppression or anything else. Is that right?
Pretty succinct. I don't think I could say it better. Absent other things that we could do that are not ideal. That's really, when we have disparate systems, that's really what happens. Absent interfaces or allowing a couple of us, we obviously don't want to pay for another 260 licenses for every one of our officers, Axon RMS, in their system, because we can't, Axon's not going to let us access it for free. So those are the actualities of looking at that data, but they would never live conjoined. You couldn't just do one search and grab all. You'd have to do both.
So what I've heard is, so we think we don't know for sure what the city is gonna do, if they're gonna go with Hexagon on their own contract or Axon, correct?
That's for
We-
cat.
Okay, but if they do, if they do Hexagon, even on their own contract, that's better, I mean, better than if they go with Axon. Best case scenario would be as if they were on the same contract as us.
So
correct?
so for CAD, I'm not sure what their CAD solution is gonna be.
Okay, okay.
For RMS, they did tell me last week they are going to Axon.
So we do know that for sure.
We know that
It's
for
not,
sure.
okay, okay.
And
It's
they're
not a question.
actively building that.
It
The
is,
CAD
okay.
portion, what their PSAP is going to use when the initial call comes in and how they dispatch officers. I've heard they were going to go to Hexagon. But that's more between them and Shrek and that whole PSAP conversation.
With the RMS, did they say why Axon? Is it just to be different from us, or did they feel the features
I
suit
think some
what
of
they
it,
actually need?
I think some of it came to cost.
Oh,
Of the
oh,
situation
The
they're
very
currently
budget
in.
friendly version.
It's still gonna cost them, for the build out. But they,
Budget friendly, I like that term. You mean it's cheap?
I didn't say that.
Value. Value.
But I just wonder if they're taking into consideration connecting it to this RMS system. And what the cost of that might be, cause they're gonna.
They know that angle too, right? Like they
well,
understand that?
they have not, to my knowledge, reached out to Hexagon to find out what it would cost for that bridge, that interface. They have indicated to me that they're amenable to data sharing agreements. But that doesn't mean, number one, the interface can be written, and number two, who's gonna pay for it? What's the ongoing cost, who's gonna maintain it? What would it look like when we're gonna do it? Yeah, there's far more questions than some of the answers. You know, on that end of it, I think, you know, I have a lot of major crime investigators who work for me that. We're fortunate we haven't had another big case like we did when I first started, but. Had some serious criminals that have. Done one thing in the city and then. Done things in the county, and you know, and evidence like. Stolen property, cars, things like that, and you're trying to put together a big case.
A serial killer 20 years ago, right?
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah, that one.
You know, I mean, we're not immune to having people commit crime in different jurisdictions. And it's the citizens we're trying to protect.
So the costs to purchase, I assume would not be covered under our current ILAs with all jurisdictions, or it'd be new ILAs.
We would propose new interlocal agreements to share with these specific agencies.
Yeah, the previous time that this was entered into, if I recall correctly, the city of Spokane and the county entered into the contract to acquire Tyler New World. And then other jurisdictions joined on afterwards. We would propose we do a multi-jurisdiction up front with all the jurisdictions, so everyone's agreeing to this. So, and I don't know if you mentioned this or not, Mike, but every jurisdiction who was partnered here has been involved. All the law, they've made their cities aware, their city managers or whoever else. There's been really good communication.
Yeah, yeah, and in fact, they all agreed to sign and send a letter to Shrek Executive on behalf of that collaborative, requesting Shrek to host this system. We've mutually agreed that maybe the initial belief of Shrek buying it and maintaining it initially from day one with IT would have been great for law, but it was undoable for them just with the amount of projects they had. So we've cooperatively discussed a better way to do that, but all of those 7 executives, all the chiefs and the sheriff also signed that letter and sent that to Shrek.
So would it not make sense? And I know this goes beyond Shrek, but to have Shrek become the records management. They do have 24/7 people, all of that. It is for all the jurisdictions because each jurisdiction has to be calling in to for warrants and all of that. That could Shrek potentially be that source and then they bill it out to the jurisdictions.
I don't know how interested Shrek would be in doing that, because they've never had to deal with records management at all. I mean, they
Because
don't even
records
deal
management
with
is only
records.
for law enforcement.
They write the report, they send it through, never to be seen again. They don't really, doesn't concern them.
Right, but it'd be good
It-
for it to concern them, because I mean, it is a handoff from one to the other. And so as you can see, I'm just concerned about having two records management systems and employees from one entity in charge of those. So I'm going to be pushing an alternate plan. That makes it before I agree.
I think it could be viewed as a different line of business, if you will, for Shrek. And there's a lot of reasons why it would make sense, because you mentioned, Commissioner, it's a 24/7 operation. They do, while it's not RMS is not a principal source of the system they need to use if they were to create another line of business, if you will. Yeah, it could certainly that's something that should be evaluated. I agree.
I just think so. I mean, I think we've just got to really look at the reality of it and what makes the most sense ongoing, for law enforcement. And if eventually, everybody does come together, then it's housed in one location for that too. So,
Like, I can talk with the sheriff, we can come up with an impact. What it would look like for our agency.
because I think we have to reach these agreements anyway. So if this is what's gonna happen, this is the time to do it. And yeah, just the chief telling the sheriff he's willing to continue to do it isn't the chief's decision or the sheriff's decision on it. So sorry. Don't mean to be mean on that one, but it's like, I think that's a decision we all have to really make collectively, because those are agreements that we've got to really look at. So.
We'll look into it and put something in.
And especially if the servers are gonna be a track, it's, to me, it seems to make a lot of sense there, but it is a new line of business. But I think as we have all these different systems, which is why we all keep asking how they all interface with each other. I mean, we're having to look at this whole picture where you're looking at a piece and I want to make sure that we're not spending $600,000 on a system for the prosecutor's office that isn't gonna get the information they need from you. Timely and all of that, I wanna look at how do we, again, how do we do what's best for these victims that are out there? I think a lot of times we keep forgetting that it's, we're now gonna make it easier for the criminals. We're not gonna make it easier for the victims. So that's the frustrating part to me, to see what's happening, and I want to try to make it as efficient and as helpful to those people as I can.
So bottom line, we could keep using New World, for the next couple, because you have to connect it anyway for this interim period. But what you're saying is making a decision to go to RMS by the end of this year, there's some sort of 10% discount, but I guess I'm just, you said that we don't have to make updates to New World for a couple of years. I'm just saying, like, we could push off a decision, but I'm not advocating, but I'm just saying you're gonna have to connect New World for a year at least anyway, right?
Yep.
I'm just piecing that.
That's
together.
correct.
I'm sure the price is not gonna go down.
From the period of time where the CAD system is changed until a new RMS system gets in place, there will need to be some sort of interface. So we don't want our deputies having to be in the field and manually entering or re-entering a bunch of stuff.
And is it our IT department that will be very involved with this? And do they have the capacity in the next year to do that?
Depends on what the commissioners prioritize for technology investments, but Kevin has indicated if you were to say Aumentum and RMS are your two priorities, then yes, they have the capacity to do that, bolting on a third party, kind of a project manager who's familiar with these systems.
And I mean, talking $300,000. You know, before the end of the year, versus waiting and then having the costs continue to go up, so. So I mean, I think.
Oh, it's not 1 million before the end of the year?
Well,
to
that
purchase
10% is what we just
Savings.
see.
Oh, okay.
And they pushed this back for us from since May. They pushed it back 4 times.
So our savings is 10%, which is $300,000 basically on $3 million. So I mean, so to some of these small jurisdictions, that's a big deal. Plus it's, now we've got to pay sales tax on it. So we're saving our sales tax. That's what we're doing.
So would you envision that the ILAs with jurisdictions are worked out prior to the purchase?
I don't believe there's enough time. If we believe the 10% is going to go away at the end of the year. 2 months, less than 2 months, will likely not be enough time to get them through all the jurisdictions, all their city councils, all the briefings and stuff. So that's where I mentioned earlier, for consideration, if the board would be willing to commit to the purchase while we then worked to get the ILAs in place to acknowledge the proportionate share of contribution to the implementation fees and the ongoing maintenance.
So what if a jurisdiction says, I don't like the price, I've already bought it?
It's a risk.
I'm a little bit skeptical of driving a timeline based off of someone selling us a discount. That's entirely their decision, whether to continue that discount. It's an artificial deadline from someone who's trying to sell us something. So I'm just putting that out there. Has anyone on the county side asked how much an interface would be with Axon and if that's possible?
We haven't.
That's something we can ask.
We can certainly ask. I don't know.
Is there anything?
Yeah, we can do that.
I feel like that'd be good to know.
Are you talking about between Axon RMS and Axon RMS? You can ask. There was some of the delay. The server issue is a huge thing because we're on Edge servers. Additionally, we've been standing by waiting for Tyler New World to force an update to the software system. When they do that, it typically takes us about 9 to 10 months of several FTEs testing and evaluating. Because when we have not done that, we've had system crash. And we can't have a system that crashes when trying to take 911 calls. So it has to be, it's a no-fail mission for all the obvious reasons. So those two things right there are kind of looming in the background. We're looking to avoid as long as we can. At some point, Tyler may say you have to do this upgrade, which we've been pushing off for quite some time. Sensible neighbors training.
So, I mean, throughout the whole presentation, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you like Hexagon's product. That's what you want. Is there any scenario that would make you not want, or at least not think Hexagon is the best product for your needs?
We've checked with, when we're going back to even when we got Tyler, there is nothing else out there that would work seamlessly with the Hexagon CAD system like this.
Okay.
It is, it's not cheap. I get it. And it wasn't an expected, cost. That's why we're here having this conversation, but it's a situation we're in. And so if you're asking my opinion, my professional opinion, I would say 100% it is the system to go with.
Okay.
We were very critical, having been through this and dealing with what happened the last time. Everybody went in very skeptical and asked a lot of very direct pointed questions to Hexagon, and they were able to answer all of them. And it was not the same for Axon.
Okay.
It's a very
Well,
different conversation.
Then I think we move forward on this, and I'm hearing a bunch of other, well, what if this, what if this, what if that? None of that changes I think the main point that Hexagon is the product that you feel in your professional opinion is what the county needs. So I think we move forward on that, and if other folks don't want to come along, that's their decision. So we're doing what's in the best interest of the county.
Yeah, I think for me, it's, you know, the city of the valley is the biggest one, you know, of this that I want to make sure that their buy-in. You know, which I think we will. I mean, I think that's, you've already talked to John.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of contracting with the county, is so. I mean, that's the big one. The other ones, I mean, we contract with, you know, and they all want to stay on the same system, and correct me if I'm wrong, last time when we went with Tyler, there was a different sheriff who forced the issue, and everybody had to come along eventually with this, which is why you were trying to be more collaborative this time.
We have a very, very good working relationship with all these agencies, especially in this project. They've asked great questions and they've been engaged, which isn't terribly exciting work, if you can imagine, but they've all been incredibly invested. A lot of that goes back to the core team that meet monthly and have regular meetings, and no single decision, we would continue with this new system. No single agency can make significant changes to the system without a vote of voting members of the core team. We would continue that framework. That's how we've been able to keep the system from becoming too complicated and too many special asks. If it's a decent ask, we will approve it.
Richard French and Amber.
Yeah, I would agree with Commissioner Kearns. You know, this, I've now increased my awareness of this game of chicken and who's going to move first and who's going to move second. And I'm concerned that the loser in this game is going to be the public and public safety. And so, you know, I support the SME's recommendation and would support moving forward with you know, the acquisition of the RMS system. And it's just, I mean, we've got almost 20 years invested into creating a regional emergency response system, and just I hate to jeopardize all of that work for one jurisdiction at this stage.
So just to Commissioner Jordan's, I know we don't have any contracts in place, but all the jurisdictions that would be involved have seen this estimated one-time and yearly cost share. They're familiar with it. This isn't going to be a surprise.
It went to their CEOs, it went to their executives.
And when was that?
That was 3 months ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So they've had time. I was trying to get that to them so they could socialize it with their budget folks and their councils. At the end of budget season. So they've all been made aware of that. I haven't gone and given any presentations to any of those councils. I know Chief Ellis has discussed it with the Mr. Holman and Valley.
Would it be a one-time payment? Oh, is that what you were saying, that maybe we would do a payment schedule with some of the
Yeah.
jurisdictions?
If the board was willing to spread it out over maybe 3 years, so the Airway Heights, the 160 could be $50,000+ a year over 3 years. It's just an example.
And so, yeah, I mean, the Valley is the largest other user. And so they're aware and looking at how they would budget for that. Because when we make a decision to move forward, if we make that decision, it's a $2.9 million investment of the county with the hope that we have these agreements to pay for the other jurisdictions' share.
And I would say some of our law enforcement agreements, like the one we have with the city of Spokane Valley, contemplates large capital purchases. There's, you know, we need to have discussions with them, and I think the sheriff's office has been working that process, but we do have some good guardrails in those law enforcement contracts already. I think this would just be a separate agreement that's very formal and kind of isolates the RMS issue from other things.
Just as long as there's no surprises, cause
Yeah,
I don't wanna, I know other jurisdictions like ours are experiencing budget challenges, so I just wanna make sure they're aware and we're open to like a payment schedule or
I just have a few more questions that are more about the current contract that I'll just get answered offline. That's a better place for it.
So I think I just want to make sure, just again, just have that conversation with John and maybe make sure, because I know there's times where John's like, "Oh, I don't know, so I just do want to make sure that has occurred. But I mean, we have to go to a system, so we know we need to. And my big thing is who's gonna handle the records management side of it. So I'd like to get a little bit more information before we go. And before I agree to that we are purchasing, I mean, I think we are purchasing it, but I'm gonna have a little more discussion really on that piece of it. To know what we're gonna do.
So just thinking about this. I mean, I'd really like to look at the decision as a two-part decision instead of a one-part decision, because I think we're mixing things together here that, if the recommendation is that this system is the best system to provide quality public safety for our citizens, and this is the cost, then, one, if this is the best system, we ought to invest in the system. If the cost is another side of it, then let's figure out the cost. But I personally am not interested in investing in a system that does not keep our citizens safe because it is a cheaper system. And I get the feeling that one of the jurisdictions is driving public safety by what they can afford as opposed to what they need. And so I would rather not jeopardize the quality of the system. And then, if we have to make adjustments for small cities or the other jurisdiction, we'll figure that out. But let's not jeopardize the quality of our public safety system as a whole, is where I'd lean.
I'll work on the records.
Thank you.
And I'll, we can do maybe another touch on this next week, if the commissioners would like. I'll just reaffirm some conversations that I've had with the jurisdictions and confirm that they're all aware. I know for sure the Valley have had conversations with their city manager and Airway Heights with their city manager, but I'll broaden the net as well, so there's good awareness.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I know we went way over, but I think we need
Oh,
to
you're
have
fine.
that.
There's been a
This,
lot of conversations.
yes. And I guess one last thing. So when you said the city just decided last week that they're gonna go with Axon.
Well, that's when I had not heard from them. So I sent an email over, received a response. I was in preparation for this meeting, like, have you made an official decision? And that's basically your IT coordinator said that they were going with Axon.
Okay.
And they were.
Okay. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep.
Down by Tesla so we can pass notes as needed.
You be tagged here at.
Exactly. So first question. You guys want to talk about technology funding? Based on that, what you just had? Or
Since
do
we just had a.
you want to hunt that this afternoon?
I think we should just go for it.
I'm gonna
Don't
have
the order of you.
technology funding is at the top of the list. Um, So we did talk with each of you last week. About funding. This sheet's a bit of just a reminder. You can't do technology in the bonding side. They've done bonding is taking care of a lot of other stuff. In the TAN side, you will see our revenue options. We have that $10 million pot that was created when we did all the year-end RP changes. We've talked about the $1 million of the new license fee that comes to the auditor's office. The board did tentatively direct us to earmark 600,000 of that for the reporting software, the auditor's office. We have 11 million identified. On the cost side, top three, Momentum is 11.7, recording the 600. The county share of RMS of $1,025,000. We've also talked carpels. I feel like there's been more consensus on holding off on that one. We also have the e-discovery and public records. If you did the whole enchilada, we'd be short 3.7. If you look at just the top three, we're short about 2.3. That would need to be general fund or some other source. Down at the bottom in the gray, we've sketched out our best information to date on the annual fees for each of these. At this point, you kind of been operating under the assumption that the departments throughout the software, the annual fee would need to be covered by how they manage their budgets in the future. We've been working on solving the capital nut to actually get the ball rolling. So the question would be, are we ready to say yes to any or all of these? This is one conversation. Us saying yes at this point means we are budgeting the money for them. We're not going to be calling them this afternoon and say we have a contract signed for it. This is purely the budgeting aside money. So you would have it in place for a decision in 2026. If you wanted to move quicker for some reason, you could do some adjustments. So,
I have a quick question on the spreadsheet you guys sent us for the operating budget.
Yep.
Had the auditor recording software in there at 600. Is this a different 600 or the same 600?
same 600.
Okay.
We also have
So
the
I'm trying to
1 million
understand.
revenue there from
Right.
the new license fees. That's embedded in your operating capacity at this point as
Right.
well. So we're trying to make sure the two sheets stay in sync with each other.
The very first question on the sheet you're referencing is the remaining 400,000. You've tentatively said, let's put that 600. If we went with this scenario, the 10 million one, we'd need to move the other 400,000 over. I want to create the full 1 million of the new auditor.
Right, okay. So like on my spreadsheet, I put 400 in there, which means
It means you're saying yes to the million.
going to,
Yes.
so does that buy down that number at the bottom?
That's already embedded in the number.
Okay, just check.
Sorry, wish I could tell you otherwise.
Okay. So, I mean. So if you just did the top three. We still need to find 2.3 million from other sources.
Correct. And at this point, general fund is,
Fund balance.
yeah, the fund balance, our $35 million fund balance would be what we recommend. We give you other choices if we found them.
So if we're purchasing RMS before the end of the year,
We'd have to do some budget. So
right, because that would be before the end of the year, and it would come out of this year's expenses.
I think there is a payment when the contract is signed. If I'm remembering correctly, and it's maybe 10%, it's not
So what I
the
was gonna get
standard,
at
but
is that
yes, you would have an expense
revenue-
this year.
So sales tax revenue has gone up compared to what we anticipated in this year. So therefore it'd be coming out of this year's expenses, not having to go out of next year's fund balance.
if the decision was made on that timeline, yes.
So that's one. That I mean, that's part of, from an accounting perspective, I would be looking at, especially since we know if we're gonna get the additional savings, it'd be before the end of this year, so to me, it's an expense issue. And yes, we need to do a budget amendment appropriately for it. So. That's one that kind of then gets out of the 20, as we talk about the 2026 budget,
Reduce that.
yes,
down to
because
40.
that expense comes out of 25.
Well, that's what I was. Kind of, when we met about the budget last week, that's what I was commenting on, like, are you talking about once we? Cause we won't know all of our revenues over expenses till everything's audited, like. March or April of next year, correct?
But we do know that revenues have been in excess of what.
And
we
that's
thought
what
they were
I,
gonna
that's
be.
what I
Yeah,
had
but
brought
a
up,
couple million.
that's what I had brought up as well, that maybe it would cover some of these
Yes,
costs. But what you're saying is we only have to pay like 10% upfront because they've got to actually complete the project before they get paid.
Before they get paid in completion, correct,
Right.
yeah, paid in milestones, and I think one milestone is contract signature, so they have cash flow to start the project and get people spun up on their side. Hexagon.
but then we set it up as expense.
For this,
Full
I
amount
see,
in
for this year.
25.
Okay.
And encumber the whole thing, yeah.
Oh, that would be, yeah. So it may reduce how much we have to take out of
Take you down to a
the fund balance.
1.3 net if you took the top 30.
Which allows us the opportunity for the others. The balance we know.
So, okay, so right now, you're asking under the expenses IT programs. Which of those ones we think we should move forward on, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
With what?
I'll just throw my momentum. I think it seems we're all on board with that. I mean, what I've heard over the last few weeks, I think we're all good there. The record software, I think we're all good there. And
Recording.
I'm sorry.
Recording.
Oh, recording, I'm sorry,
Just
recording
making sure
software,
since
yeah, and then
records
the
is
next
there.
one, the RMS, it sounded like our conversation today, I think we have a majority to move forward there. I would say those three. Because it sounded like Carpel and Defense, IT couldn't do both, we do one and not the, it just, based on
There's
what I
some
thought,
due
what Kevin was,
diligence,
it
yeah.
seems like that wasn't ready for prime time yet, so.
If it became ready for prime time in April, May or June, we could bring them
Okay.
forward at that time and do
Yeah.
amendments accordingly.
I would say 1, 2, and 3 right now would be for this, for the 26 budget. That's what I would throw out.
I'll second that motion.
What? Do
I have a third. We'll move forward.
we have a third?
I don't see this year
I think-
so long.
But I think
We're
what
just
I'm
gonna
trying to
get-
say is
yeah.
the 1 million for the RMS is, we put that into
You're saying it could be
25.
this year instead
So
of
it's
next year.
not in this discussion for 26, it allows us more funding for.
If we sign in 25, we'd definitely. do that, yes.
So I mean, that's,
All those caveats, are we good to move forward on this?
well,
You
so I,
always unring the bell.
so e-discovery. The public records, isn't that something we really need to do that would significantly help them?
That one's gonna be best we can tell. Ashley and I've been going back and forth this morning. It's about $100,000 a year. But the question I have out to Kevin, he hasn't got back to me yet, is what our current annual fee is for the current software to see what that delta actually is. We know what the cost is on the Microsoft side. This is the Microsoft product.
So this is not one time, it's ongoing.
It'd be 198,000. For the remainder of our current contract, which is 2 more years. Last I talked with Kevin, he thought it was gonna be about that amount going forward. But prior to that conversation, Ashley and I had a different understanding, so we're trying to confirm that at this point. What the true cost would be.
So is that replacing the entire current public record system that we use?
I'm not certain on that one.
Yeah,
I
I just
believe
feel like,
it's an email Outlook searching tool.
oh, I see,
It's like an update.
a more advanced tool.
Supposed to save a lot of time with public records requests. Volume going up. I could get Tony probably to come in this afternoon or next week and answer any questions. Kevin. Team person.
I mean, I think we just need to get some more questions answered. It's not, and whether or not that's a one time or ongoing.
And what that
Because
difference
if it's one
is.
time, it should go in this category, but if it's not, it really should go in the operating. Budget.
So are we good with the top 3? And e-discovery pending more information on e-discovery? Or good as the top 3 will get you more information on e-discovery. That's better.
And just some feedback from our IT team. Kevin's indicated that those 3, if that's the selection by the board, that is the amount of capacity that he'd be able to successfully manage for these 4 projects. Beyond that would be severely stretching.
So like the e-discovery is a bit more flipping a switch, a little less.
It's a
people
Microsoft, it's like a Microsoft product.
It's an add-on product that would, is my current understanding.
Trying to remember, is e-discovery, is there a description of it in any of the documents in the sheriff file? Looking here, I don't see.
I think it
Might have been in
Public
Tony's, it might have been in Tony's presentation, I believe.
Okay.
Remember you spoke
We may
to.
not have grabbed that one because it was in August. We look over.
A lot of peas. It's not on the sheet. We'll need to get that and bring it.
Okay. Just, I'm gonna ask on timing for, since we're so far over our timing with the sheriff's department this morning. I know I've got a new meeting. Yeah,
I'm about the same.
yeah.
We can probably bump all of them except for one. If we could leave 20 to 30 minutes this morning, that would be great. For an exec session.
So.
Stop by 11:30.
11:30.
No, 11:15. I've got to be
Okay,
out of here by, we have to be there at noon, so.
so we have 45, 43.
We'll have more time this afternoon, right?
Yes.
Oh, it's time for much.
Oh, I meant for, you know.
No, it's Amber and I just gonna watch WSU advisory. Also, maybe.
We can move them all to the afternoon. I don't know if the availability is.
No, we can stop at 11:15. I mean, 'cause we're just extending whatever we don't finish in this discussion continues this afternoon,
So that's-
which may give them time to find out more information.
So do one exec session at 11:15 is what you're suggesting.
So at this point, we're gonna do tentative yes direction on 1, 2, and 3. With 3 being financially taken care of in 25. If it is contract signed, we'll hopefully at the 1:30 be able to give the details requested on e-discovery. With that, we can move over to the sheet.
I was just gonna throw in that one thing I had talked to Scott about, because I know that the prosecutor and the public defender programs are terrible and do need to be updated at some point. One thought that I had was whether we could look to have a consultant come in and look at all of the pieces with the court system and the prosecutor and the public defender, because they're all dated. And instead of just buying programs and putting Band-Aids, if there was more of a comprehensive look at an updated system, and that could be, you know, rolled into the conversation about the task force that's looking at all of our criminal justice and public safety needs. Anyway, it's just a thought. Maybe someone that's had a successful implementation in another like-sized community in Washington or Oregon that would give us some good advice. Cause I'm a little concerned about like the public defenders doing their own research into their software. They really need to be spending time doing their cases right now. So over the new year, or if that can be something that's covered when we get to that point. But it was just a suggestion, because it seems like that the court systems too, the Superior, and they all have to connect, and there's some other issues there as well.
And the clerk and.
I mean, I think it's a really wise investment for the commissioners to have some expertise in which, there's a lot of systems that are old, and systems that are homegrown. Which ones are the most important? And if you choose one, how do you then make sure it's not having some negative implications on another system? So having some sort of independent evaluation of people who are familiar in this space, be able to give some direction as this is really the one you want to start with, this system here, because either it doesn't speak with everything else, or if you change that, it doesn't break linkages or whatnot. So I think it would be really wise to have that evaluation be done.
I know we want to be more efficient. I know that the public defenders need to track their time. I know the courts don't even, I don't think the Superior Court and District Court talk to each other necessarily. So like, if we're gonna be more efficient and make some changes that actually maybe could save us money, you know, in our system, it just seems like, I don't know if we know what we don't know, so.
Help me understand how this is going to be different than the Blueprint and MacArthur and all of the other consultants we brought in to try and improve the efficiency of the courts.
I was just suggesting for the IT side. I don't know if we've ever done an IT system look. I don't know, but just all these IT items keep popping up, so.
This is kind of along the lines, Commissioner, of prosecutor has identified a need to have a case management system, and it's a priority for prosecutor. But is that, as far as the county entire criminal justice system, is that the highest priority right now? And what does that system speak to and feed that we then have to think about? And maybe it is that system, or maybe it's another system that would be a higher priority for the commissioners to invest in. And I think it should be using a lot of the previous work that was done to inform. It should be using like the SIMS process, the process mapping, to understand how all things talk to each other and whatnot. So that's really the idea behind it. It's not to redo work that was done previously.
Yeah, 'cause my impression after going through all of these other studies is that between the prosecutor, the public defender, district court, Superior Court, I got 4 islands, 4 kingdoms, and all of them are convinced that they've got the right answer. And of all the years, I've never seen them agreed on anything, including what day of the week it was. And so I'm just not overly excited about spending a bunch more money, you know, trying to find the commonality, when the commonality between all 4 of them is they don't agree. And so I appreciate the effort, because I agree with you, it's something that should happen. But I mean, it's just like, my God, we've studied this thing to death. And so, the only thing I've come to agree on is that they don't agree. And I don't know where the common ground is.
Some of the blueprint though did make recommendations, right, about how it just said
Oh,
the systems should talk to each other, but didn't necessarily say how, when, what system, right?
we got a ton of recommendations that talk about how they should talk to each other.
Right.
Did I mention that they don't agree on anything but how they? Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was just a suggestion. Cause I worry about us spending money on each system and then finding out later that we have to change a different system, so.
Is there, I guess the question for me, I guess Scott mentioned it, but is there a consultant that's out there that specializes just in IT? That could give us that information, because then we as commissioners can drive which system we're purchasing, because we're the ones that purchase it. And not, it's, there may not be agreement with everybody, but we've got to do what we think's best countywide to purchase. And it's hard. It is hard to make those decisions when everyone's coming saying, oh, I looked at this system, this system's best, and I like, but what's the best for you? And we have to look at, there's not going to be a perfect system out there for anybody. And so what will be the best system internally that we can all get behind it?
So specialty in IT and psychiatry.
And they love pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of agree with you. It'd be good if it has to be the right expertise with the right, hopefully fairly narrow scope of just trying to figure out if is there economies of scale or improved functionality that would come. Sharing to the extent possible. I know just obviously we know the prosecutor's office believes Carpel its needs. Just in talking to public defenders, I think the problem they have with Carpel is they want to have like the timekeeping function also. But Carpel does apparently not have like a cell phone ability to do that. So when they're in court, they might just have their cell phone. They would like to be able to log their time. I think the latest I'd heard is it doesn't have that. Anyway, so if we have the right person, hopefully doing a relatively small scale project, it might be worth it to do that. But you never know, to your point, whether it's going to produce results or not. That's the hard part.
Do we still have judges that don't know how to use a computer?
I don't think so anymore.
Or all paper?
We do have paper judges, yes. We still have what I call pages running papers around campus. I don't know what their title and pay grade are. I know I did it for free at the legislature in '89 when I was in high school as a page.
You have to ask the clerk, because I thought that we were off that.
We weren't as of this,
Think some of the judicial assistants will print the paperwork that comes electronic.
Right, but that's
Provide
another
our
job.
judges.
That's
That's
just
changing
it all.
to read, like,
So we may want to have to.
double check.
IT can't help that.
I still like stuff printed, but.
Oh, you all know me. I come with paper every week.
So I get some of that, but I mean, I think for the most part, everybody, I think a lot of you judges have retired. That didn't want the clerk's office to even go paperless, so. That's my understanding, but find that out. But I think it's just gonna be, I mean, it's kind of a unicorn as to who this consultant could be, so I mean, so I would
we could ask around, maybe Wasac, I don't know, maybe there'd be some.
make sure, and Tim might know. Just because they deal with all those different systems and everything, so. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I think it's just finding the right person to determine we can spend the money. Because I think it's gonna come down to the commissioners making decisions. Right, software, I agree to purchase.
If you guys decide to go with a consultant, we can take a fund balance at that time. Contingency would be an option. That's. You're not locking yourself into anything.
You can always amend the budget.
Yes.
Will do.
Or, we can put a contingency in for a consultant. And say that it's for these systems, so that way people know we're serious about it.
Yeah, if you decide to do that as part of this year's, part of 2026 budget, the scoping and all the RFP would be something that we decide on later, but it's just identifying the need, identifying the desire to make the investments, and then define what that actual it's gonna look like.
With that, Ron, can you throw up the budget matrix on the screen? And the top corner, right up by the general fund capacity in the box, we have the Liberty Lake TIF. We left 200 with the TIF. The remaining 241 is anticipated revenue that would go into the general fund, so that was added to our unallocated capacity. The next three numbers are just numbers we were asked to show. The increase in the juvenile sales tax year over year is expected to be that 326 number. The 15% of the new Spokane Valley Public Safety tax that would come to the county is at 450 is the estimate. And then the 15% of the new City of Spokane public safety tax is 266. And that's probably we had it for some of this year, so I'm assuming
That's
that
the
would-
differential.
that would use the differential, because we didn't get all 12 months of the city tax this year. But next year we will. So
Those facts came from the sales tax sheet that was in the binder from earlier this.
So those are just, those bottom three numbers, they're already embedded in that 5.6. We just wanted people to see where they came from. You'll see number 2 on the green is the 600,000 we put in last year for the Omentum. We just arranged it by general fund direction first. So if we scroll down to where the yellow section starts, Ron. Line 0, that's just the way it worked. So like we just talked about the technology. Are we all good at moving that 400,000, that second part of the $1 million audit fee to cover the technology? I'm seeing heads nod, so we'll put that 400,000. If you just type it in, we're on 400,000, unless you have a PDF
Are you not in
version.
the live version?
Okay, you're fine. We're not gonna get,
Okay,
we'll have
we'll
this
get it fixed
by
for
this
this afternoon.
afternoon.
Oh, like from the file?
The 2 HR. Line 1 is the medical fund that we've talked about. And we've talked all along, we currently have 8% in this year's budget. We know next year we'll probably need to do something to 13% range. We had talked about going maybe a 10 and a 10. At this point, our request to you is just to know we're gonna do a bigger one next year. We've kind of missed the trains left the station, so to speak. It'd be a lot of work on the back end, be doing every department's budget if we change that at this point. So we will remind you over time, we have a big hit coming next year, but we'd like to leave that where it is this year.
Okay, so I'm just gonna make clear, so we're not doing anything this year, but
We're doing 8%, which is a big increase.
we are.
Yep.
We were doing 5 originally, and then when what was reduced?
PERS.
PERS was reduced by 3%. We moved that PERS to the medical, so it's a wash to our staff. But from a 5 to an 8 for the medical fund.
And then the 650 or 550 is
The 550 would be the cost if we were to go up. So you mean,
To 10. That 2% delta
we only went
equals about $550,000.
so instead of doing 8 this year and 13 next year, we're doing 10 both years. That would have cost another 550. So we'll staying at 8 will have no cost.
right, but next year.
Next year, we'll be looking at that
550.
550-ish.
Okay,
And
that's what I'm trying to understand, that
Correct.
we're keeping it flat this year, but that's now the.
that will be moved
Delta for
forward,
next year.
yes.
Plus some.
Plus some if we
That
go
would
higher.
be just going to 10, so if you go to 13, it's gonna be,
It'd be more than
probably double.
What if we're doing 10 this year and 10 next year?
we're just doing 8. Got 8 built in right now. And this was a suggestion to possibly go to 10, and because of where we already are in the budget, we're proposing leaving it at the 8% that's already in there.
Okay, cause you'd have to recalculate for every department.
Every
Our
fund, every
enrollments and
department,
everything
every.
too, so.
So is
Right,
the,
but I'm trying to figure out, what is the 550 represent?
Had we went from 8 to 10, that would have been a 550,000 cost this year.
To the general
So
fund.
this is just a 3% amount, no, 2%. Okay,
Correct.
okay.
So if we went to 12 next year, we'd be looking at about 1.1 million.
You like to do like numbers, Jenga. Sort of thing.
As long as it doesn't collapse.
Please don't pick this choice for the budget office this
I need
same.
more, I need
Even
more.
As long as it doesn't fall.
I'm like,
Sorry.
yes, so, okay, so this, the 550 just represents,
If we did a 2%
2%.
increase.
okay.
We-
Perfect, that's all I need to know,
Perfect.
and it will happen next year, but it's gonna be more than that.
Probably. For the second HR, we had talked about looking at the change of insurance from the 5 and the 10. That's a long term, it'd have to be negotiated. So it's on here just because it was talked about, obviously not a 26 idea. Something we'll probably bring back maybe Q1 next year to see if you guys want to have that discussion with Ashley and her team on that negotiation. So the medical examiner, you have lines 3, 4, and 5. And they're all inclusive. So it's like if you did line 3, that includes line 4. Line 4 includes number 5. So the question is with the medical examiner at 249,000, just shy of 250, that would be status quo. All of their people, all of what everybody would hope to get, but not where we've been. The 104 on line 4 would fully restore the investigator, which was her main ask. And that was a big enough ask. Line 5, she was willing to go from a full-time to a 0.8 to help cover the cost. So the question would be for the medical examiner's office, the full status quo, is it the full examiner? Is it a shared or none of the above is always an option.
I was just gonna say, I went with the 104 because she said that was the one she really needed, and then that also keeps her at the 100% staff. I didn't like the idea of bumping her down to 80. So we give her the 104. It's what she said was what she wanted the most. So I went with just the 104.
See some heads here.
So would I.
Yeah, I guess I was confused. Because you say that the full amount is 249.
That's for everybody. That would be covering everybody in the office, their COLAs, not doing the 7% cut that we ask every office to do.
Okay,
The 104, they would have absorbed the remaining difference between 104 and 250 through other cuts. But it would keep her staff, particularly that investigator.
there,
That was her.
but she's not gonna go to,
She would not go to 0.8. She would stay full-time. The 104 would allow that investigator, who she said was important.
and keep her at.
And keep her at 100%.
Okay,
So we'll move over the 104.
so I guess that's what's confusing, so 5 is still relevant.
If you pick 4 or 5 is not needed.
Okay.
And that's just the way they propose their, a lot of if-thens.
Yes. Okay,
So she will stay at 100% and have and a full investigator. For Parks and Rec, these ones are separate, they're not the if-thens. So you have, the top one is restoring a proposed cut to a park operations. Number 7 is an ask back to add a park operations. 8, they had a 50% cut proposed. That would restore the cut. 9 is the extra 2 weeks of service in the park season.
I went with just 9, but instead of 31, I put 62,000 and let's get an additional 2 weeks back. So 2, which we're buying back, and then add an additional 2 weeks, because I believe we cut 2 weeks a couple years ago.
Actually, have 4 weeks.
4 weeks, so this
So this would
buys
take you back to a net 2 from where we used to be.
that's what I put. I plugged in 62,000 on the 31,000 line, and let's throw in an additional 2 on top of the 2 for 31.
You had 2 weeks to the front or the back?
Open to discussion, don't know. Whatever makes sense. Honestly, I think it probably makes more sense to put them on the front end, because I've had a lot of people complain that we open our parks too late. More so than people complaining that we close them too early. And that's just my experience. People have complained more about why aren't they open yet? So.
I can support that.
So my suggestion was to do something similar to what you suggested, but to look at using REIT for it. Apparently by RCW, we can now use REIT for parks operations. Is that correct?
That is correct, because you use REIT into the general fund.
We could, if we needed, we could save that capacity for other things down the list too.
Is it just a percentage that we can use for?
We can use up to 35% of all the REIT we bring in for operations on items that are allowed to be funded capital projects through REIT. So since we're allowed to fund park capital through REIT, we can spend up to 35%, which is up to 2.4 million of our estimated 7 million REIT that will come in this year.
I wouldn't want to use like, too much of the REIT, but I think that would be that's what I had on mine too. I actually had just this 18 weeks, but I would be willing to go to the 20 weeks. I think that would be great for our community. But that was just, I was thinking if we could use REIT very discreetly for operations, it would free up we could at least consider it as a discussion. If we didn't need to use it, then great.
Do we use REIT funds for operational issues in other categories?
Historically, it's
No.
been up to 100.
Only on, we were only doing a very small amount on parks, occasional certain types of stuff, not,
Typically, it's all been capital.
it's been. primarily-
Historically, that's the way REIT was designed.
Yeah.
You could go up to 100,000.
Before you had to do special reporting and a lot of
Yeah.
extra
But
requirements,
now you don't have to do.
but they've first removed those reporting requirements.
That's just this year, you mentioned.
It was a 25. This year's legislature changed it for 46.
Yeah, because REIT 2, when they combine REIT 1 with REIT 2 is primarily for parks.
Maybe we want to do it sparingly, but just considering we're in our general fund's under a lot of pressure. It could be seen as a kind of temporary bridge, maybe the sales tax increases in the future, we wouldn't need to do it, just a thought.
And we've added parks and are adding parks in Camas Meadow, or Plants Ferry, different ones. So we're adding, but we're not providing any other funding for it. Right? So,
Saving on water though, that's great.
with some of the turf, but lighting an increase and stuff. So,
Garbage collection.
yeah.
Well, we may want to. If these were in order of preference by parks, we may want to consider that park operations. I'm assuming that's somebody that's managing all the, the daily maintenance and I don't know, but that was their number one priority. So it's something that. Cause yes, it's great to open up the parks more, but then you will have to, do some more maintenance and garbage activities.
We're hearing the agreement on 62,000 for 4 weeks of buyback. Where are we at on funding source between general funding?
I would say let's wait till we get to the bottom of the spreadsheet and see if we're short, if we need the rate. If we don't, then we do general fund. But if we get to the bottom and we're negative, then I'd say we look at rate. So we'll tell you in about an hour.
Like
This afternoon.
We'll tell you in
15 more minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I just think that, the full-time restoring that person who's gonna go do a lot of.
That was just, I think we should just circle back with
Parks, we gotta.
We can do that before 1:30.
maybe ask if we did move it to 20 weeks, like, would that really require having a little bit more of that operational?
I think if you open up the additional weeks, you need the 6.
I don't remember Doug saying that though about the 2 weeks. He said they need, cause remember I had asked, I said I was surprised it was so inexpensive to extend an additional 2. Why was it only 31,000? And he said, it's because essentially, if I remember correctly, I thought it was just because all of the seasonal employees would be paid an additional 2 weeks. So, it wasn't he didn't say anything about full-time employees being a part of that equation of extending those 2 weeks. It was just when they hire on those seasonal employees, they'll be hired on the additional 2 weeks on their contract, and that was the 31,000. So you had those seasonal employees, you hire them on an extra 4 weeks. I hope it's 62. I hope there's not some, where it's actually 90 or it's actually 100 if you go that many. So I hope the 62 works the way, but.
My memory of the full-time position was he talked about maintenance being pushed back. Some deferred maintenance would go into the off season before they got to it. That wasn't keeping them open. It was more fixing the graffitis, the
Damage.
yes.
Not the trash pickup and
So this,
That's what the seasonal.
that's the
folks-
seasonal folks.
so would you guys like us to call Doug and get more detail on a person? Are we good with just the 62?
Well, I guess check with it to see if that will buy back 4 weeks.
Make sure there's not some compounding thing.
So we'll check on the
Yeah.
4 weeks, we'll check on a person. We'll start it in general fund, but have it tagged to look at possible REIT as you get to the bottom. And then with that, I would like to skip planning and go to the clerk because the clerk is here and he's not available this afternoon. And
That's not fair. You don't get to feed your food.
there's quick, a little bit of a backstory on the clerk. So you'll see up on the screen, there's 3 lines on what I sent you. I believe there's only 2. If you go back to when the clerk came in and we had talked about setting up a special revenue fund for a $5 fee and some funding through the IT department. We mostly attorneys around town, there might be some other exceptions to the rule, pay a fee to get access to certain digital records. And the IT department has charged the fee. Some of it just pays for our cost to set that up, but there is some additional profit margin there that goes into revenue. We were under the impression that that was new revenue when he had talked about a special revenue fund. Since then, we have learned it's not new additional revenue. It has been being applied to the general fund. It's gone against our overall Microsoft bill. So when every department gets their prorated internal cost, it's reduced a little bit because we reduced that bill by this amount of money that came in. It's about 40 to 42,000 a year. The IT shop balance their budget without using it. Tim in the clerk's office had assumed to be part of his. So we had two positions that were going to be funded from that special revenue. And everybody was happy. We go lucky when the presentation happened. Since then, we've realized that's actually not new revenue. The $5 is still new revenue. So if you look at, so I have 11A and 11B now on the screen. The 11A is covered. The $60,000 position is covered by the $5 fee. The 11B, the 50,600 is the one that we all thought was covered, but is no longer covered because it wasn't additional new revenue. Line 12 was his add back, top priority request to get something back. So we're starting from a 50,600 deficit from where we thought we were before Friday.
56.9.
Correct. So I'll speak for him, the little thing comes out. The request is to backfill what we thought was there. And then the additional request would be the number 12. Their office has cut 4 positions to date. No matter what, if you cut 11B, that take it to 5. If you restored number 12, it would take it to 3. That's
That's a good summary. Yeah, nicely done. So that's what it is in a nutshell.
It's not it's not a would like to, it's trying to restore something you didn't.
We thought we had the 2 positions protected in a restricted fund. We found out through Jeff's good work that that money actually was funneled a different way into the general fund. We didn't really see that. Nobody saw it, but Jeff found it. But that $40-some-odd thousand is now lost to us. That would have covered a $50,000 position. So I am short $50,600 for that one position, which is currently filled, currently working in my archive shop. One of my cuts is also out of my archive shop, so I can't afford to cut another person in that same division. So that's our number 1 request. If we could, that person will be put back into the general fund. And that was not originally covered. It was originally covered, it's not covered now. So that's a $50,600 ask. And if you're really feeling generous and having a good day, we'd still want that courtroom clerk down the road south. But we understand.
Can you remind me, Tim, last year, there was a situation where there was some sort of fund, there was a special fee that was collected, I think, and then it was split between the auditor's office and your department. There were a couple of positions that were funded. Did we move any of those positions into the general fund last year to help cover that?
You did.
You
The
did.
auditor removed my 2 people out
Yes.
of her fund because it
Yeah.
is her fund,
Okay,
and they were put into the general fund.
okay, I just wanted to check.
And
on
you all
that.
picked them up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's the archives division.
Yeah. No,
Records
my,
division.
my concern is, and we're seeing a trend where more of your people are being moved to the general fund, and it makes things difficult. When
Well, the
each year
special
we're adding
revenue-
additional
The
FTE.
special revenue fund could cover the one. It was budget's request not to have a special revenue fund at $50,000.
Yeah.
It's not worth the extra work, in our opinion, for a fund with that small amount of revenue.
Okay.
And quite honestly, that $5 fee can go to the general fund or to the special revenue fund. So from that status, it's the same. We just don't have to do the extra work of the special revenue.
Is that a fee that is always collected, or is that a fee that the judges can waive?
Judges can waive it. So we
Do they
base,
waive it?
they do, but we base the amount of money on a 40% waiver ratio. We did the past 3 months of calculating the actual value that we're bringing in. It's about $3,500 a month that we bring in, that we keep. That will cover that one position. So we were confident that that position is not covered, that money will go into the general fund. But it does cover that one staff position. It's the other one now with the loss of the $40,000. With the application extended document viewer contracts, the loss of that money, that leaves that one position uncovered right now.
did we talk about, we had a conversation about whether it should be a special revenue fund or not. Remind me what the decision
The
was.
decision was yes, it was led by Commissioner French. I called him last week to ask if he would mind if we didn't do the special revenue fund because of the work. It was one of those kind of silence. Commissioner French said, let's go special revenue fund, and everybody kind of nodded. So I
That's
called
what I
him.
thought the decision was.
It was, so I called him to see, am I missing something that's important to have a special revenue fund? He said he was fine with whichever way. So that is also part of this conversation. We would not be doing the special revenue fund, but that same money would be added to his budget. So his, instead of being a complete flat budget at $1 million, just to pick a number, we go up to $1,050,000, and he'd be able to have the 50,000 expense against it.
Okay.
Because I knew, for his perspective, the money is all still available to him. From our perspective, it's a little less work.
We did speak with the auditor's accounting office about setting up the fund, and they, were on board to set it up, but they also didn't feel that the funds were so prescriptive in the RCWs and kind of the changes that the legislature made requiring it that it could go either way. So it is a fine revenue source to have coming into the general fund. It already complements revenue sources that the clerk's office collects today.
And we agree that. Jeff asked me, do you mind doing this? No, we don't mind doing this. It helps everybody out.
So under general fund capacity, is that number assuming this revenue? At the top, the 5 point whatever.
No, we would increase the revenue.
So would we do that then? If that's
The
the revenue.
The 60,000 is covered. So the 60,000 would not deduct your total available.
Right,
to
I'm talking about
spend.
the 50.
The 50,000 would be deducted. The total.
Yes, but I'm saying if there's additional revenue coming in, that's not going to be a special revenue. Shouldn't we increase the total?
That's the issue, that
Top
revenue
of the
had been
spending fund.
coming in historically, so
So
it's
it
not
is.
additional.
Okay, so
It
from,
was already, we thought it was additional revenue in the IT office, but we learned it wasn't. It was already assumed in the general fund.
okay,
So we don't want to spend it twice.
so in our chart, the amount that we have to spend already includes that
It includes the
as
six,
revenue.
correct.
Okay. Okay. Well, I thought we'd made the decision already,
We had,
so,
we had bad information.
yeah. So I think we should stick with what we thought we were doing, which was fund the position. As direction, pending the overall numbers.
When I made the suggestion, I think Jeff interpreted you guys nodding off as an agreement, and so.
Yes. I think I actually
I
said
agreed.
that. Hearing no dissent, moving forward.
Yeah, I'm happy to put those dollars in there. So you're already eliminating another
Should
position.
still be eliminating
Right.
4 positions with this put back, there'll still be 4, he's already attributed them over the years, if you know, pink slips. But 4 positions would be going away.
These are retirements. We just chose not to fill them. Because I normally don't have a vacancy problem. I normally say fully staffed. But we kept these 4 positions open to meet the budget requirement. We just haven't hired them.
So I'm seeing nods, we will move the 5629 in. Not good for the clerk,
Brooke is very happy.
and
I want to keep him busy with.
I've hit my time limit with a minute to spare, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Wait, Tim.
Yeah.
With the last minute, we talked about, and there'll be more discussion, but is there a group that you know that does consulting for IT purposes for courts?
We have a lot of groups out there that do, the National Center for State Courts does a lot of work with courts.
To look at IT, like, because everyone's wanting different systems.
Right,
Not
right.
necessarily different systems. Everyone needs new systems and we need to get away from all our homegrown systems, so. So maybe you and Scott can start thinking about that. Thought about.
Okay.
with a group out there that could consult for IT purposes, only that we could try to get courts and public defenders and prosecutors kind of systems that work together.
Right, yeah, I have the general system that everybody connects to,
Right.
but they do have their own individual systems. We are stuck with the state system, Tyler. There's no way around that. That will stay in place.
Right, which is Odyssey.
That's not, see,
So-
now Enterprise Justice,
Okay.
they changed it.
And there aren't any other larger jurisdictions though that have a different system?
Pierce County has links, they have their
Right.
own system. King County has their own system. King County was ordered to take this, the state system, they refused. And that's where it ended. So Holmes did take the full state system. Both locally
Yeah, I
and
thought you heard
statewide.
How much has something different?
We pushed back hard. We don't want to give up our autonomy of our own system. Because remember when the court network system was shut down? We're one of the counties that stayed open.
Yeah.
Because Josh and our team put everything together so the court could keep running.
We have any judges that are still paper?
No,
Everybody's converted to computer now.
well, I made them. They have to be on the court
Okay.
document viewer. The judge's viewer at the bench. So they have to look at now, they do get bench copies, which are paper copies, but that's a local court rule. That attorneys have to bring in a paper copy of whatever the issue is, but when they're on the bench, it's all electronic.
Thank you.
Now, we do have, now down in, to be fair, down in ex parte. Where it's a free for all, there's a lot of paper. That's because that's what the pro se's and customers are bringing in, is paper.
Okay.
We're at 42,000 documents a month right now filed and 23% electronic. Just over 24% electronic. So the next step is to get the prosecutor and the public defender electronic, which they want to do. And then once they're online, that's the pushing mechanism to make the bar association go online.
And so that's what we're talking about, is trying to, like, how do we make sure that all the systems, it's the right system? And not having each department choose a different system that's not necessarily work. So that's what I'm looking for consult. Okay,
I can do that.
okay, thank you.
No, I was gonna say, I think you probably have some knowledge and connections in this area.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Now,
One executive session item this morning, pending and potential litigation, no action. What time did we need to stop today?
about 11:45.
11:45, so this will be 27 minutes,
Let's say 30 minutes. It's okay.
30 minutes. We'd like Ashley Cloud, Jeff McMorris, Mike Sparber, Josh Grote, Summer Wright, Colin Charbonneau, Victoria Bloomhorse, and Devin Curda.
Thank you. And no action.
No action.
Okay, we're gonna go into executive session for the next 30 minutes. No action is anticipated, so participants and the reason is stated. So we will continue this meeting. We will adjourn for the morning, but continue the meeting till 1:30. Continue our discussion. So thank you all.